Resistance Retribution is a PSP spin-off of the main story that introduces new characters but also includes some we already met in Resistance Fall of Man, like Cartwright and Rachel Parker. I strongly recommend to get familiar with the PS3 game before getting into this story by checking out my other video where I summarize the story of Resistance Fall of Man. Now let's see what happens in Resistance Retribution. The story introduces Private Grayson and it's narrated by Rachel Parker, who was also telling the story in Resistance Fall of Man. We get back to 1951 and see Grayson saving someone from Chimerian captivity in Manchester. Turns out Grayson knows this soldier and it's his brother Johnny. But it looks like he is already transforming into Chimera, so Grayson is forced to shoot him in the head. This situation broke Grayson's spirit. He deserted his unit, becoming a renegade looking for vendetta by going from conversion center to conversion center, destroying as many as he can. After the fall of Chimera Tower in London, he was put under a military court for desertion. He was convinced and sent to prison. But soon, a woman named Rain Bouchard pays him a visit. She needs him in a secret mission for France Resistance, aka Marquise. Though Grayson is about to face an execution, he is not really keen on working with French army. Rain explains that chimeras are evolving and her father has spent several years working with Marquise, developing a serum that can stop the new conversion process. But they need his help and experience to get the materials they need to finish. Grayson decides to go. British intelligence agreed to send 2 squadrons to help the Marquise, headquartered in Luxembourg, but first they need to get there, and at this point chimeras built many fortifications through the British coast and the only way is a small passage from Dover to Rotterdam. But Marquise intel was wrong and planes were ambushed and shot down, including the one with Grayson on board. Grayson and Bouchard jump out, use parachutes, but they land in the middle of Rotterdam and the city is under Chimerian control. They manage to reach Marquise and Grayson is up for a rough start with them as he blames them for what happened to the first squadron. He wants to destroy Chimerian gun towers before they can take down the second squadron, but Marquis Lieutenant orders him to stay and secure the sector. Soon a soldier shows up informing Major Cartwright needs Grayson's help. When he reaches him, it turns out he got stuck near the plane wreckage. Grayson helps Cartwright to get out, plus they take some explosives from the wreckage. Grayson is told to take a way through the sewers. Soon he discovers a conversion machine. Grayson reports he has never seen something like that, but he gets orders to focus on destroying the tower gun. It's defended by those huge chimeras, but Grayson handles them. Parker explains that Chimera built all the fortifications and towers in just 2 weeks, and that is why the Marquise intel was wrong about safe passage to Rotterdam. Though Grayson had a bit of a rough start with Colonel Richard Mallory from Marquise, he must join forces with him to infiltrate and destroy the final gun tower to save the second wave of transports. And Rachel Parker is leading that second wave, by the way. Grayson and Mallory fight their way through the tower and reach the top. The duo takes down the shields protecting the tower batteries and destroys them. Mallory congratulates Grayson on the good work they did. While the second wave got the safe passage, Parker took it to Luxembourg, where plans for attack on the Paris were being finalized. Grayson and Bouchard are sent to Bonn, in Germany. Scouts discover a massive Chimerian facility in a dried river there. Since chimeras abandoned their old conversion centers, humans must find out what type of conversion they are able to implement right now. This is why they need to infiltrate this facility. At the entrance to the dome, they are attacked by Chimerian mecha. Grayson helps soldiers to deal with the mecha and enters the facility. It's so huge, it made one of the largest rivers in Europe vanish. Bouchard's father, who researched Chimera's new methods of conversion, actually suspected they might use water now for the process. Inside, Grayson meets Mallory, who tells him they must leave and informs that Bouchard is dead. He says that they took her and drowned her, but Grayson says that it's a conversion center for God's sake, so she's not dead and they can still save her. Mallory doesn't want to take a risk, so Grayson is at his own. He breaks through the facility and Bouchard makes contact, informing she is in the fluid system surrounded by many female bodies. Grayson races with time to save Bouchard. He reaches her when she is already in some kind of a chamber and she received an injection earlier, but Grayson believes she wasn't affected yet and saves her. The troops learn that the Chimera had discovered the Maquis base in Luxembourg. When Grayson gets there, Chimerian forces are already attacking Maquis, cutting off the escape routes, making humans use their last VTOLs to evacuate. At this point, the Maquis' research into Chimera conversion process is advanced and looks like they are close to developing a serum that could prevent the Chimera from converting humans. But if Luxembourg falls before the evacuation is complete, the research of Dr. Claude Bouchard will be lost. Grayson meets Cartwright and he orders Grayson to go to the hangar and help the airbornes. Grayson meets Mallory and punches him in the face. And again. Well, that's for leaving him and Bouchard earlier and generally for being a French prick all the time. But no time for personal issues, as the evacuation is more important right now. Also, it turns out that Parker is missing and again Mallory leaves Grayson on his own. Turns out Parker is at Luxembourg's walls trying to hold on until they get evacuated. She wants to make sure that Dr. Bouchard gets on a plane. Grayson takes the job. Doctor doesn't want to evacuate and his work is almost completed. Also, his daughter is there and we can see that he is using her blood in the process. Then she explains to Grayson they discovered a weakness in carriers and if they infect them with her father's virus, it might kill them all. But the tense conversation is interrupted by Chimera, who kills Doctor before he can complete his work. Now it's up to his daughter to finish it, but for now, they need to escape. Grayson hands Moraine to Mallory and goes to help Cartwright to hold the defense line and help the remaining humans to evacuate from Luxembourg. Maquis' last safe point is in Reims. They plan to assault Paris Tower with all they have left. They hope it will have the same effect they had seen in London. But there is also the other plan, based on the believing that Bouchard's serum might work if it's smuggled inside and injected into the conversion center. So, the main assault is just a diversion for a smaller force to enter the city, bypassing the Chimerian defenses through the catacombs. Long story short, it's a one-man mission, so guess who they gonna call? Well, actually, they picked Rain, but Grayson reveals she is infected and her father used her blood to make a serum. He tries to explain that if she changes into Chimera, the whole operation will be compromised, but Mallory doesn't listen and gets him arrested. Bouchard pays him a visit at night. She tells she is very sorry, and James kinda uses a distraction to choke her, but turns out he can't make a decision to heal her. And we can clearly see she's already turning into Chimera, but all of a sudden, she takes her top off, and we can only assume what happens next. Anyway, Bouchard leaves for the mission and Cartwright along with Parker shows up and frees Grayson so they can go after Rain. Humans attack the tower as planned and Grayson catches up with Bouchard and Mallory at the entrance. Mallory explains he lost track of Bouchard, so Grayson enters the catacombs. The place is filled with Clovens, who are basically like zombies. But exploring the chambers, Grayson discovers they actually have their language and kinda build a society around here. It's like they are related genetically to Chimera and both species coexist in the same region, tolerating each other's presence. That means infected Bouchard probably wasn't bothered while getting through those catacombs. Grayson finds the conversion center and gets in touch with Bouchard, but trying to talk to her reason is just not working. Then he fights with Borrower and finds out that Cloven's reason to live in catacombs was that they had easy access to the thousands of human bodies that were being stored there. Grayson enters the tower and Rain connects him to say goodbye. Grayson still believes he can stop her, so he steals a mecha and goes for the Crystalis lair to inject the serum there. After a tough fight, he breaks through and inside the lair he finds Bouchard's clothes lying on the floor. Mallory shows up and attacks Grayson. Turns out he is infected and he blames Grayson for what happened to Bouchard. He also explains that he had chosen to be infected, to be more than human. Then they have a duel and Grayson kills Mallory. Since no female Chimera had ever been seen, human females were stored in the catacombs DNA facility for use in the later phases of the Chimera invasion. Inside the lair, there was a structure called the Mother Chamber. It was used to implant the Chimera DNA into human subjects before they were transported to facilities like the one in Bonn. And to deploy the serum, Grayson has to enter this chamber. Inside, he learns how the process works, as female bodies are transported into so-called hearts. So he swims into the heart and injects it with the serum, and it breaks instantly. Then we see Grayson laying in the remains of the destroyed lair, and a demonic voice tells him to wake up. Turns out, it's Bouchard. So actually she is the Crystalis. She strikes James with a ray of light, trying to mess with his head, but he resists, and she gets really mad. So a fight between them breaks, and I'm not talking like a fight in a relationship when you left your socks on the floor. Bouchard really brings her A-game and some backup from the other chimeras, but Grayson uses a huge laser to shoot her in the head and it knocks her down. While lying on the floor, she tells him that humans can't win and we are only raw material minerals for chimeras, and they will never surrender as there are worlds of them, infinite in numbers. Grayson is like, oh yeah, well tell that to the spreading virus that kills your carriers right now as we speak. But with the Rain's voice, Crystalis tells James that the virus won't actually kill them, it's just gonna make them evolve. And seeing that Rain is clearly gone, James kills the creature, and we see him standing in front of a fallen tower. Chimerian forces in the Western Europe became disorganized, confused, and began to die. Dr. Bouchard's serum worked as planned. The new conversion process has stopped, but while Western Europe was catching a breath, reports continued to come from Russia, Balkans and Spain. Chimera forces were on the move, and huge numbers of Chimerian ships were being constructed and sent for an unknown targets and destinations. When Parker asks Grayson did he found Bouchard in the lair, he says she was already dead. Then he rejects the proposition to join the British Army as major. He takes his brother's jacket and leaves, joking he might apply for the Maquis colonel's position since he heard it's available. Parker explains that they never saw him again, and he actually did join the Maquis and volunteered for a mission in Russia to find the source of the Chimerian invasion. Then, during the Battle of Warsaw in 1953, he was listed missing in action, but among the Russian refugees, there were rumors of a British soldier seen roaming the streets of Minsk, Kiev and Moscow, and they called him the Cloven Killer. Parker is not sure, but she believes it might be Grayson. And after the credits we see Grayson, who is clearly in Moscow, and when he turns his face into the camera, it turns out he is infected with Chimera virus, but it looks like he still remains human. And that's how the game ends.